This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing fine. My name is Frank Berkers. I work for TNO in the Netherlands, and I'm the work package lead of SmartAgriHubs work package 4 on Digital Innovation Hub capacity building. To illustrate the span of SmartAgriHubs, exactly 4 weeks ago, we had a webinar on farmer-centric innovation, and today we talk about the European Digital Innovation Hubs as a special kind of digital innovation hubs. I think some of you will become a European Digital Innovation Hub. Others will complement them and work with the European Digital Innovation Hubs, or you might just be interested in a topic. In the upcoming period, around 200 European Digital Innovation Hubs will be funded nationally and by European funds. So it's an interesting topic. I have the honor to introduce you to Anna Puig-Centelles from the European Commission, DG Connect, and my colleague Maurits from TNO representing the DIHNET project. After the presentations, there will be plenty of time to ask questions and discuss the topic. I have to apologize. I have to leave this meeting in a minute in order to participate in another thing. So apologies for that. I do hope you will enjoy this webinar, and yeah, see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Christina here, also from TNO, and working in the SmartAgriHubs and the DIHNET project. For this webinar, we have a couple of house rules. Please observe them so that we can all enjoy the webinar as much as possible. First of all, the webinar will be recorded, as most of you heard in the beginning. We will share the materials from the webinar after the event. We will upload them on the SmartAgriHubs portal. Please stay muted unless you're actually speaking, and please your cameras unless you're presenting. This is just to make sure that the connection stays good and we can all follow the discussions of the presenters. Please leave your questions in the chat. We are going to follow a little bit the chat. So once the presenters are done, I would be very happy to go through the chats and to actually observe little by little some of your questions and address them to the speakers. Thank you for this. And for the agenda, we're going to start with Anna, who is going to present the European Digital Innovation Hubs and the Digital Europe program. Collaboration in the EU Digital Innovation Hub ecosystem will be presented by Maurits, and then we would have time for questions and answers. So, Anna, I'm very happy to give you the word. If you would please start with your presentation about what the European Digital Innovation Hubs are.
Okay, good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this event and for the organization. And I would like to explain you a little bit what are we planning and we are working on. So the European Digital Innovation Hubs will, I guess you already know, but I would like to tell you that the EU member states join forces on digitalization for European agriculture and rural areas. You already know the declaration with the member states on digital agriculture. So you should be aware that 25 European countries already signed the declaration of cooperation on a smart and sustainable digital future for European agriculture and rural areas. And they will take actions for successful digitalization of agriculture and rural areas in Europe. So we have this support for the member states. It's also very important to mention that we have some projects on advanced digital technologies for agriculture that have been funded by European Commission, which are super 4D4F, IOF 2020, Data Bio, and SmartAgriHubs. In here, we have Human AI, Pantheon, Forage. I'm leaving you here also the link that you can double check if you want to get more information about this declaration within the member states. Next, please. What concerns to us regarding this declaration is that this declaration of cooperation of smart and sustainable digital future for European agriculture and rural areas that was launched in the Digital Day in 2019 has some passages that are relevant for our European digital innovation hubs. And I would like to mention these passages to you. For example, to build on ongoing initiatives such as the SmartAgriHubs network and ensure that agriculture is covered as an area of expertise in at least one DIH in each member state, which could be a dedicated agri-food DIH or a more general one. Something to take into account. Another is that we want to develop a network linking the dedicated agri-food DIHs, making cutting-edge digital technologies and specialized services for agriculture available for local farming and food production ecosystems, including small-scale farms throughout Europe. Also to take into account, close the loop by enabling cooperation between the network of dedicated agri-food DIHs and the more general network of DIH that we already have. Again, all these actions are eligible under the EDIS scheme of DEP, but they can also be funded by other sources. That's also important to take into account. Next, please. Okay, here I just wanted to show you why are we doing this, or why are we putting so much effort and budget in these EDIs. You can have a look here. These are numbers for year 2019 about the enterprises along Europe and what's their level of digitalization. You can see how different countries are. You can see Denmark in the very beginning, and you can also find Greece, for example, in the very end. So there is a great room for improvement in here. Next, please. So to explain you a little bit, in order to help these companies that are not investing enough in digitalization, we want to create a network of DIHs to help them in their transformation. So here we want that the DIHs give services to the industry or to the public sector in this particular case to help them to improve their level of digitalization. How? We want the DIH to advise on technologies to the SMEs. We want to bring user needs and suppliers together. We want to build an ecosystem to help regions to work together. We want that this European Digital Innovation Hub provide technological expertise and experimentation facilities to enable the digital transformation of the industry and the public sector. Again, this is something new that we are introducing within DEP. From our point of view, the EDI should respond to the needs of the local economy. In terms of digital transformation, it should build on strengths of the region. I mean, we do not need to start from scratch, but from the things that are already working in the region. We want to build on that's already functioning. Please remember that we want to see the EDI as an orchestrator, as an epicenter in the digital ecosystem. We want to think of an EDI as a consortium with typical participants like RTOs, research and technology organizations, technical universities could be also in the core, but we need them to collaborate with industry associations, clusters, and accelerators, incubators, innovation agencies or vocational training institutes. For the services, you already know, we want to give services to the industry and to the public sector by experimenting or piloting testing before investing. We want to help them in along the value chain. We want to be the first contact in the ecosystem to help them to find investments. We want to help them in improving the skills, but when we talk skills, we think of advanced skills, and training, we think of short-term trainings. And we want to build a network with a geographical spread all along Europe from 100 to 200 EDIs. Next, please. So this next funding program, this is gonna start. This will start from 2021 from 2027, and we want to support on the capacity. I leave you here some funding programs. The first one is Horizon Europe. This comes from the already known Horizon 2020, and this will continue. This will have a continuation in the initiatives like I4MS. Another program, which is the new one, which is the Digital Europe at European level, of course, is the one to support the facilities and the personnel of the EDIs. That's the important thing that we are treating today. We want to build on capacity in Europe. We want to diffuse digital innovation across SMEs and, as I said before, administrations. And we have InvestEU also as European level, but the important thing now is to talk about the ones we have also in national level. We have the ERDF funds and we have the European Agricultural Fund of Rural Development. Both of them can be used to co-fund the EDI because, as you may know, we expect to have a 50% funding from the member states and a 50% funding from the Europe DEP program. So this co-funding, the one that comes from the national level, we could use the ERDF or the EFRD for co-funding. In this case, the European Agriculture Fund has to be focused on agri-food, of course, and digitize agriculture in general. So one grant per hub. The grant can be to buy equipment, to improve facilities for testing, to hire personnel. I mean, we want to help SMEs in the digital transformation. We do not want to fund the SMEs, we want to fund the EDI. And the EDI, as Deb said, wants to invest in capacity of the hub and in delivering services. We don't want to build buildings in this sense. And next, please. Okay, very important here is the specialization and the focus of the EDI. We want you to be based on existing strengths, and as I said before, and we want you to address future needs of the local industry or the public sector. So depending on the needs of the local economy of the region, you should think of the smart specialization strategy that you already have in the region, and then we want you to build on top of that. Please think of the key technologies that we have in depth, AI, HPC, or cyber. Think also that we can have, and we expect you to have a matrix. This means that you can have other technologies also in the EDI. Simulation, supply chain, advanced materials, whatever you need because it's a strategy of your region. You can have also different areas of application if this matches with you. And important, the sector. You have explicitly mentioned the agri-food sector. So since most member states have signed this declaration, as I said before, on smart agriculture and rural areas, so DIHs are going to play an important role here. And these DIHs that may become EDIs could be with a specialization on digitalized agriculture. And next, please. So the European added value. We want to export and import capacity from EDI to EDI. We want the EDI to build their capacity, and we want them to do it by exchanging experiences, exchanging good practices, or mirroring successful setups from another EDIs, from another ones that already have the know-how. Again, the DEP wants to invest in digital capacity building, and the hub is gonna deliver these services to accomplish that. So DIHs that are more mature could help the DIHs that are less mature. We can also learn from the specialists, from the competence centers that are really specialized and have excellence in HPC, cyber, or AI. We also can learn or teach the people that need this know-how also in the very back end, in the SMEs or in the administration. And all these will be orchestrated or organized from the EDI. So I encourage you to also think to network from EDI to EDI, to think, to bring you together, to start reflecting on initial ideas, to start reserving budget, reserving resources if needed. It's not needed to be specific, but you can describe already the activities that you think that are gonna be useful for your EDI. You're gonna start thinking about that you may need train the trainer, you may request help to competence centers, you may be willing to import excellence from another EDI. I mean, all that you could imagine, you can start describing these activities. And next, please. Okay, regarding the networking, I already started explaining you a little bit about the network of the EDIs, but please think here that you may have an EDI that has knowledge, but also needs some help from a competitor center from one other pillar that we have in depth, such as here I describe you the specific objectives, the high performance computing, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and advanced skills. So we have another pillars, another specific objectives, and we can get help from them. Think also, please, with the connection that we can have from the actual EDIs, the ones that will be funded from DEP, within the DIHs that we already have. So we think of that EDIs will be regionally distributed to collaborate with the already existing DIHs. We want the EDIs to support other DIHs, which with DEP main technologies, AI, HPC, or cyber, and we want them to be representing these other DIHs that are in the network in the European Union EDI network. So we will help them to connect among other countries. Something important that I also wanted to mention is the Digital Transformation Accelerator. This is gonna be new, this is gonna be a central node, and the aim will be to animate the network. We think of community building events between EDIs and DIHs that are not part of the EDI network, but we want to set up links with DIHs that are focused in agriculture, health, or public administration. So please, if you first become a potential EDI because you're selected from your national call, then you become an EDI because you're selected from the commission, great, you are inside, you will be managed by this DTA, but if you cannot become an EDI and you are still a DIH, please do not forget that if DIHs are focused on agriculture, this is something important for us, as I have been mentioning in my whole presentation. Next, please. Here I wanted to show you this selection process that we are having. It's called a two-step selection process for becoming an EDI, because the first step is that you need to be selected by your member state. The member state will give the Commission a list with the candidates that they would like to propose to become an EDI. So these potential EDIs will be invited to a restricted call that will be launched by the Commission, and then you will be able to apply to perform your proposal, your improved proposal. This will be, I will let you know later the timeline at the end of January, and then you'll be evaluated by evaluators from the Commission. So you can go more in deep in this slide, but this is the general idea. We want to have a full coverage in Europe, and we think we can achieve this in the next incoming years. And next, please. Okay, as I told you before, you here have the timeline. That's a best optimistic scenario because it does not depend all on us. There are some steps that we cannot control. So we expect to have the adoption of the next MFF in mid-November. We expect to have the adoption of the debt regulation in mid-December. We expect the first work program to be adopted in January, and then we will launch the official expression of interest to the member states, and also the restricted call only for the designated hubs that come from the list from the member states. You'll have this deadline for the restricted call in the end of April, and we hope we can sign the contracts in Q4 from 2021 onwards, because this depends on also the member state decision. And we will launch a second restricted call in December for all these potential EDIs that could not pass the threshold in this first restricted call. Very important, we will invite all the potential EDIs to an event in January before we launch the restricted call, because there is where we want you to improve your proposals, to include this EU added value that we need for the Commission proposal, and you'll be able to learn how to prepare a good proposal and to pass this threshold. And next, please. Yeah, that's all from my side. I just wanted to let you know here some links that could be very useful to read. All the information that I explained is going to be there. And thank you very much for listening and for participating in the webinar. Thanks a lot.
Thank you a lot, Anna. We have a couple of questions in the chat, so maybe it's a good opportunity to ask them now because they relate very closely to your presentation. One of them actually relates to the DTA and the collaboration between the EDIs, and the question is, when you're speaking about artificial intelligence world-class reference sites, are you referring to the networks of excellence that are currently developed by various innovation actions and research innovation actions, or are these going to be new ones?
You're asking, sorry, I missed the, I mean, is this the question for the mass strategy specialization, right?
Yeah. So the question is about, when speaking about artificial intelligence world-class reference sites, so the connection with this slide that I'm currently showing, are you referring to networks of excellence that have just been funded by the Commission, or to other entities?
Okay, the thing is, sometimes the EDI does not have all the knowledge that would be needed to help the SMEs in the region or the administration. Then the EDI can go to get support for these other pillars. we can go, or the EDI can go to these other pillars that are already funding these competent centers specialized in AI data outsider, and they can help the EDI with this other funding that comes from another pillar.
Thank you, Anna. We also have a question about the smart specialization strategies. I assume that this might be a question towards your member state, but maybe Anna can also shed a little bit of light here. And Stefano is asking whether the smart specialization strategies still matter, given that now the focus is on IoT, big data, and AI, and that they have tried to submit proposals for data-driven transformation, smart specialization strategies, and never was accepted. So how do they face this challenge?
Okay, when we mention smart specialization, we mention it because we want you to build on the strengths of your region. And we need you to reflect on this strategy that you have in your region. I mean, this is not going to influence to pass or not to pass the threshold. I mean, as a whole, I mean, the important thing is that you reflect as an EDI what's needed in your region. And you need to reflect about the smart specialization that there is already in your region. You need to know the strategy, because maybe you want to do it from scratch, but the idea is to build on top what's already working. That we want to fund what's already working. We want to invest on what's already functioning in the region. So if you support, if you explain the reasons why you are taking this direction, then it's fine. There is no problem. You have to justify what you have already there and why do you want to build on top of that, because these are the real user needs of your region. Because at the very end, we want to go to the SMEs of the region and we want to help them to digitize. So this cannot be wrong. I mean, you are the ones that have this know-how. You have to explain us what's that and the reasons why, justify what you are building on top of that.
Thank you. Anna, we have another question whether startup organizations such as French Tech can be a member of a European Digital Innovation Hub.
Yes, we expect in the core to have RTOs or to have universities. We also suggest what do we expect as coordinators. We also suggest what do we expect as collaborators. But at the very end, you are the ones that know your regions. Maybe some regions, they know some, they have some chambers of commerce because they have the industry know-how of the region are super important. But in some other regions, maybe the strategy is different. So it's up to you. If you want to include yourself as a member of the consortium, as a partner, because you think you are worth helping the consortium in improving the digitalization of the region, because you have know-how, you have something to give, then you just justify it and you just go on. It's fine for us.
Thank you. We have a couple of connected questions, so I'm going to try to summarize it into one. And this is, could you again repeat what is going to be the procedure for the selection of the European Digital Innovation Hubs in short? And then the question is whether you also expect to have different restricted calls for example, sectors. But I think the first question is going to answer the second.
Okay. I didn't want to go in depth in the step selection because it has been explained in other places many times, but no problem. The first step is that the Commission will launch an expression of interest to the member states. So the member states need to have an open and transparent selection in their national process to give the Commission a list of candidates. So for you, the first thing you have to do is to pass the first process, the first national process. I mean, the member state needs to select you to be in this candidate list. Once you are in this candidate list that the member state will send to the Commission will invite you first to this event in January to help you improve your proposal, and then you'll be able to submit your proposal in the restricted call that will be launched only for the candidates at the end of January, with deadline April. Okay. All these candidates that apply may not pass the threshold because they are going to be evaluated by evaluators. But we want you to give you a second opportunity for all these proposals that cannot pass the threshold in January, April. We will launch a second restricted call only to these ones that were not able to pass the threshold at first instance. And then we hopefully will have all the candidates that were already supported by the member states inside of our network. That's what I can tell you for sure. But of course, that's first our program we will publish, we will read it carefully, and we will have another again, but it's not written yet, so I cannot advance you much more further than this. I think it's clear. Well, at the very end of your question, I mean, the evaluation, I mean, we want to have a balance in Europe. We want to have a geographical, technological, and sectorial balance. This means that if you're a small country, we don't want, and you only want to fund 4 EDIs, we don't want you to have 2 EDIs in the same technology and in the same sector. If you have only 4 EDIs in your country, we expect you a balance and a coverage, not just geographical, but technological and sectorial. So yes, we will consider this. Yes, but all along Europe, we want a balance.
Thank you very much. There were a couple of questions that relate to finding information in the member states, whether calls have been launched and what is the status. I believe, Anna, one of your links leads to a European page where you can find actually contact points from the member states, if I'm not mistaken. So I would urge you to read the documents that Anna has put into the links in the end of her presentation. You're going to receive the presentation. And also, if you have specific questions for your member state, please use the contact points that have been allocated. Maybe they can help you out for a more specific question. Yes, Anna, you wanted to say something? Yeah.
Yes. You can find a table over there with the contact person of your member states and also a link to the national open call of your country.
Yes. Thank you. I would like to move to the second presentation, but Anna, we would be very happy if you stay so that in the end, if we have more time, we can come back and maybe we have questions that both you and Maurits can address together. So Maurits, I'm going to give you the words now. Please welcome and tell us something more about collaboration in the ecosystem.
Thank you, Christina. Also, thank the AgriHub project for inviting me to say something about European collaboration and also with regard to the EDIs. So I'm the scientific coordinator of the DIHNET project. The DIHNET project is the overarching project that should be providing some thought leadership about how to organize European collaboration and among the EDIs, but also among the digital innovation hubs. So I'll go into that a little bit. Up front, I would like to say that my presentation is about European collaboration between digital innovation hubs and EDIs. This is also a presentation organized in the innovation action, the AgriHub innovation action. So I focus on European collaboration. That's a very important thing. Some time ago, we already gave a presentation about business models for digital innovation hubs. That's not so much about European collaboration, but that's much more about how to set up your digital innovation hub. This presentation is about how to collaborate between each other. So if you look now at the actors in the network, we can see, well, traditionally we can see four more or less digital innovation hub related actors. So there's the competence centers, focus on technology infrastructures and the technological expertise. The innovation hubs expanding it to business and also network kind of activities. Regional entities that are trying to organize collaboration in regions, and the pan-European networks like the AgriHub project. But there's a new kid on the block, so to say, if you can click again. And that's the eddy. I use this this symbol, this icon for an eddy. It's not the icon. I'm sure there's going to be another icon for it, but well, in the meantime, this is how I see the eddy icon. It is more or less looking at the digital innovation hub kind of activities or regional activities and trying to connect that to the pan-European network. That's an important element to really understand. If you can click again. So how to look at the network and how to collaborate among the eddies. That's the specific focus of this presentation. We can start with making a distinction, trying to get a distinction between the digital innovation hubs and the eddies, so the European digital innovation hubs. And we've given a little bit of attention to it, and we can see that there are some differences between them. So for us, the digital innovation hubs very much focused on research, development, and innovation. The eddy, its focus is a little bit more on support of development. So although there's still some innovation there, the actual take-up of the digital technologies is a very crucial thing. And it's about strengthening the regional ecosystem. That's also what Anna explained. But there's two missions in an eddy. There's a regional mission and there's a European mission. And although the digital innovation hubs are a little bit more reactive, and it's not core to the mission is focused on the regional, strengthening the region. The eddy is much more proactive, and it can be seen as a regional gatekeeper to and from Europe. That's a crucial thing. And I would like to take this specific element to go into depth a little bit more. You can later on take a look at the other commonalities and differences, because the slides are going to be shared. But I would like to focus on that European mission intensively, and I'll try to make clear how you can look at that. So if you can click again. Before Anna, Christina, yeah. So this is about it. It's the European function. Before I go into talking about that, these are the eligibility criteria and the relevance and impact criteria. And they are also important for the European function, because if you look at relevance, it's contributing to the policy objective of the EU. It's the connection with the DEP, with the Digital Euro program, to create that gatekeeper and that in-between function to make sure that the assets that are created within DEP are also coming to your region. And this is also about the specialisms and the connection to the smart strategy. That's a crucial element. And the impact, the European impact, is of course going to be a very important criteria to look at when your eddies are evaluated. So please be aware of that. So if you can click again. Now, how to collaborate, because it's clear that European collaboration is an important element to address. We can see for your digital innovation hub a few important reasons why you would like to collaborate on EU level. Through the EU level, you can access leading edge technologies at lower cost because it's offered throughout Europe and you can make it available in your region. You can also create new business opportunities, looking at your market, expanding your market to the entire Europe, and also trying to organize the European value chains and how to create that. That access can be offered by engaging in that pan-European collaboration. It is also about understanding how you can do your job better, because there's a lot of people out there in Europe that might have done already some things that are interesting for you. Those good practices, exchanging experience on that will help you improve your business. It's about finding synergies between complementary technologies. One region does this, another region does that. Connecting to them will allow you to improve yourself. And it's also, I'll skip the fifth one because I addressed it. And the sixth one is about increasing the impact of public funding. If you can avoid duplication of investments by using each other's investments already, that's quite interesting to create more impact from the public, but even also from the private investments. So how would you do that? This is about creating corridors. It's about creating a link between region A and region B. So that your function will be to understand the demands of your region and to get it transferred to another region which has already capacities and capabilities on those specific topics. And they can provide the infrastructure and expertise for your region. How to organize it, that's the key issue. And it's also, of course, the other way around, because you can also provide the other infrastructures and expertise to the demands of other regions. This is about import-export. Yes, please. But there are some challenges, because if a digital, that's our experience, if a digital innovation hub needs to develop those corridors between two regions, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of investments that you need to upfront provide in order to create that corridor. And usually the return of investments is hardly profitable for you. If you need to spend 200,000 euros to get a collaboration with another region, and you have 2 or 3 or 4 projects, then the 200,000 euros is never going to be paid back. So that's an important issue. But also it needs specific capacities. And that's also a problem, how to organize that and understanding how you can do that. And the organization of interregional collaboration is a multi-actor activities. And to actually collaborate, it's specific skills and competences that you need to upgrade yourself with. And last, I would say last but not least, European funding is very often, it's a key thing to organize all this work. And that's why, if you click again, European collaboration is very often an ad hoc activity. So you do it once, you do it twice, but no structural collaboration and no structural corridors. So now looking at the agri-hubs, the positioning of the EU network is next to the members of that network, the digital innovation hubs and competence centers. So where the European network is there to support the EU collaboration, the actual digitalization services are provided by the competence centers and the digital innovation hubs. Can you click again? So the European network is, can you click again, is something else than the service providers. The service providers are providing the services, as been mentioned quite often in the AgriHub work. It's about community building, but it's also about technology services, business services, and skill services on the ground at your region, where can you click again? The EU network is about different services. And this presentation is about inspiring you to think about how you can optimally use the EU network services, and what can you say to the network how to organize those collaboration services. What do the EU networks do? We've got 4 categories of services that we identified. So it's the ecosystem services, there's the technology services, there's the skills and training services, but the core are the business services, focusing on establishing pan-European collaborations. I will not go into detail on this. That's for another presentation, I would say. And that EU collaboration is, of course, always about money. So it's about the revenue model. It is about, if you want to engage in EU collaboration, who's going to pay for that? And usually it's the case that European Commission funds these networks and funds these European collaboration. But that should not be the case. In the future, the EU funding will be there, I'm sure, but there's a need for organizing your work, organizing those EU collaborations in a smart way, so you can do some things funded by the actual added value receiving entities. And we've identified several revenue models that you can use, and I would like to very limitedly touch the 3 of them. So the first one is the membership, the second the full cost services, and the third one is the success fee. In the end, it will be about a multi approach for this. So this is the present situation. There's a lot of members, there's the network, and you have some in-kind contributions from the members, the Digital Innovation Hub and competence centers that go and feed into the network activities, and those network activities allow you to connect, and the EU is funding that. So can you click again? These are the present situations, the present innovation actions. The first one on memberships, you can look at it like this. So you mostly you are a digital innovation hubs and competence centers. You are helped with specific services. You can look at those services on the right side, and you're helped with that to create some kind of brokerage, initiating collaboration. These kind of things are just paid by your memberships, and you pay the network for that, and you get the services, and you'll get some network activities back. This is about services that can be it can be scaled up. So the network can, if you have 20 members, it's more easy to provide those services. So that's the membership approach, the membership business model. The full cost services are about specific services to allow you, for example, to create a collaboration between you and an SME in another region. And there's a full cost services to be paid to the network to do that, to deliver those services. And even you can make a little bit of a distinction between members and non-members, where the non-members are paying some overhead. So this is another value, a business model for a value proposition. A third one is the success fee. So you try something out, the network is organizing some stuff. If it's successful, then you can make use of it, and you can pay the network a little bit back. That's another business model you can use. I won't go into detail with that. What I want you to understand is that those business models are not fully covering all the activities, all your services, and that's I've included those in this slide. So the membership-based services are addressing specific services. The success fee can only use for other services, and the full cost also by some other. There's some overlap here and there, but in the end, the message here is that you need to combine different business models in order to become successful, create a successful approach for those pan-European collaborations. Can you click again? So concluding, I'm sure there's always going to be some money from the Commission that's needed. That's the last point. But I think that the present way of operating these kind of activities is not sustainable. And you can even challenge yourself, if there's so much money from the European Commission needed, is it then worthwhile? Because there's clearly no economic incentive for your service receivers to pay for that in the right way. So you can question yourself if it's a sustainable way to have those EC funding all your activities. So you need to develop more smarter multi-business models where the activities are approached. So you can use one business model to fund another service, etc., etc. And there are many potential business models, but they're hardly explored. And that's for this setting, it's a very important thing. I would urge you to try and test these business models, because if you don't do that, that in the end, it will be a difficult problem to organize that. For the EC funding, there's the European Digital Innovation Hubs. The EU will fund those European Digital Innovation Hubs with up to 1 million a year in up to 200 regions. So that can create a kind of a foundation of the activities that you need to also initiate in and engage in those pan-European collaborations. So that's a very important thing for the European Digital Innovation Hubs. Please. So what does this mean for the EDIs? There is a regional function. It's focusing on the support of the digital transformation in your region. It focuses on deployment. So it doesn't focus on the strong development of new innovations and new technologies. No, it is very much about, okay, we've got some ideas, but now there needs to be an uptake by SMEs or even the public sector. And it is about enhancing the capacities of your region to further create specialisms. That's the smart specialization connection. If there are some specialisms already there, it can be enlarged. But this talk is about the European Gateway. This is about getting those capacities from other regions to your region and getting the best capacities from your region to other regions. How would you do that? And I would urge you among yourself to discuss about how that can be done. What is needed to do that? Can you click again? It is about creating the connection between the EDIs, your region, with the pan-European networks that are out there. So, for example, the AgriHubs. And the AgriHubs are much more focused on technology development. So a little bit less. Well, it's also on deployment, but it's also very much on innovation. But you can create a connection to access your local markets and capacities and create the leading edge new technologies. That's what the discussion should be, thinking about your EDIs and how to connect to that European network of the AgriHubs. Can you click? So please, I hope that this presentation initiated the thinking within you. How can we organize this collaboration? What do we want from those European networks? And what do we want from those EDIs and the EDI network? Because of course, it's the individual up to 200 EDIs, but there's also the EDI network that is going to be developed. Within the DIHNET, we are now setting up a precursor network that is exploring the needs and how you can organize the pan-European collaboration among the 200 eddies. That's a very important element for us to understand, because in the end, if those 200 eddies are operational, they need to be supporting each other, working together, and having the optimal benefits of the regions towards the European level to strengthen the European competitive advantage and address the challenges in a more efficient way. So thank you for this opportunity to share these thoughts with you. It is, can you click back once, Christina? Please join the community. We are discussing these kind of things in the DIHNET community, and you can join that community through the website, our website, the DIHNET.eu website. Thank you.
Thank you, Maurits. I saw that there is quite a lot of questions and communications in the chat, but given that we have only 3 minutes, I think it's a nice question to ask both you and Anna to comment on to finalize this presentation. And it is, are there any kind of mechanisms already planned or ideas to connect the EDDI networks with the existing DIH networks and communities? For example, SmartAgriHubs. Maybe
I just replied in written to this. I just replied in written. I was saying that the DTA is planning to set up links with the DIH's focus on agriculture, health, and public administrations within the EDDIs. We are thinking on an interactive map and things like that. And this will come from the DTA. The DTA will be a digital transformation accelerator, as I said, a central node, like a pseudo CSA, let's say, in charge of connecting all nodes from the EDDI network, plus DIH.
Thank you, Anna. And I think that one of the things that Maurits mentioned, and actually is an interesting function for the EDDIs. The EDDIs, you know, have the function to connect to the European networks as well via the DTA, but also probably via other networks, but also to bring the information back to their region. So connect the European and the regional function one way or another. So they would also be a very strong connector themselves between networks, I would say. We are almost out of time, and I want to really thank our speakers for your presentations. I have learned a lot. I hope that our attendees have learned a lot. We are going to check again whether we have not missed any questions, and we are going to send you the presentations to all of you. Thank you for the speakers, and thank you for all who attended. If you have further questions, we will try to address them one way or another, maybe in another webinar as well. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
And just for your information, we are planning for other webinars in SmartAgriHubs, so stay tuned. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.